Dr. Casey Means. All right, so we're going to take a look at Dr. Casey Means. So I thought that this was, and it's aligned with one of the videos that we saw maybe about, I think we actually saw it on Wednesday, where they were talking about some of the processed foods, or they were talking about the ingredients in a lot of our foods, how it's outlawed in other countries, how McDonald's in other countries only has 3 ingredients in their fries, with salt being optional, and we have 11 in ours, with some cancer causing or disease causing ones. So I don't know, neither here nor there. Let's get into it, because this one is a topic that I love to discuss, where it's calling out the doctors. We all think that doctors are so intelligent when it comes to our health. Doctors are some of the most indoctrinated people when it comes to healthcare. And in my opinion, it actually makes them less qualified in a lot of areas to holistically look at our health. Right. I think holistic was a word that Kamala kept using in that recent interview. We may take a look at that as well, a little bit of it. But what do I mean by that? I've talked to certain surgeons, and they say, like, listen, man, medical school is ran by big pharma, and it's all just teaching us how to cut or how to prescribe medicine. We don't learn about nutrition. We don't learn about minerals. We don't learn about all these things that directly impact somebody's health. We just learn how to do the things that we're going to be able to charge money for. So that's the mindset that these doctors have, that you go in to visit and that you trust and rely on in order to tell you if you're healthy or not, in order to tell you what you need for your body. They are more indoctrinated. Like, we don't have the information, but they have the information that big pharma wants them to have. That's what they've been indoctrinated with. So if they don't intentionally unlearn some of the things, or choose a different perspective and learn some other aspects of true health and wellness. See, they learn health care, sick care, what to do and how to benefit financially from when somebody is diseased, when somebody already has a problem, when somebody has an issue with their musculoskeletal, they break their arm. We learn all these things. I'm sorry, the doctors learn everything that comes with things that they can bill and make money. How to prescribe medicine. Oh yeah, oh, you have this issue, we'll prescribe the medicine. Not asking you, hey, are you eating a lot of processed foods? Are you eating fruit and vegetables? Are you taking vitamins? Are you taking minerals? Because all these things can directly impact your health. Do you take vitamin C? Are you vitamin D deficient? Maybe let's think about that. Are you getting enough sunlight? What type of exercise program do you have? They're not asking these things. They're saying, oh, you feel depressed? Here's some medicine. That's what healthcare is in America. And we accept it. We accept it. And shame on us, because what should be more important than our health? It's the same thing with the education. I'm not just going to blame the teachers for not educating the kids and put no responsibility on the parents. That's the same way. I'm not going to just blame the doctors who don't know, who've been indoctrinated by big pharma to cut and prescribe us medicine without addressing us, because it's our health. We're the ones that are dumb enough to take the medicine that they're giving us. We're the ones that don't look into essential oils and how that can. I went to an autism event maybe 2 weeks ago. Dope event, autism event in the city. It was at a comedy club. And at the event, a lady was selling essential oils. And the essential oils that she was selling were to treat her child from autism, because they had tried Ritalin and they tried a whole bunch of other medicine, and they did not like the effects that it was having on their kids. Right now, I don't want to get too far into it, but they did not like the effects. And I started to ask them, I'm like, hey, well, with autism, I've heard certain things with that VAX, category. I don't like to say it on here because I feel like they flag it. But we've heard a lot of links with those things that we give our kids when they're first born, and some of the things that they're trying to convince us to take every year, and how that can lead to higher numbers of our kids suffering from this particular category that we're talking about, this event that I was at. So she decided to treat it with essential oils and found that it impacted her child in a much better way, and it was a pleasurable thing. And it was that type of medicine. But because we don't look at what's in our kitchen cabinet as medicine, we only look at what's behind the CVS counter in the pharmacy department. That's what we look at as medicine. We don't look at the food that we're putting in our body every meal as medicine. We don't look at it like that. Why? Because it doesn't benefit the Food and Drug Administration. They just want us eating as many burgers as we can, eating as many chicken wings as we can, eating as many steaks as we can. That's what they're pushing because that's what they make money off of. How do they make money off of it? Because when we get sick from eating all the BS, they work directly with the drug administration or with the drug companies and big pharma. And now big pharma can prescribe you medicine to take care of the effects of your shitty diet. That's what happens. So let's get into it. Is the screen already? My bad. I'm going. Y'all know me. I'm going off on the 10.
You to poison.
Dr.
You would think that the American healthcare system and our government agencies would be clamoring to fix metabolic.
Hold on, my fault. I just want, before we get into it, I want to, and a few people said it. Cuzzo said that the government's the biggest drug dealers. Keith said we have the access to the info. It takes seconds to find, but we Google nonsense. Look at the last 5 things you Googled and tell me I'm wrong. Look at the last 5 things that Cuzzo put calling everybody out. What's the last 5 things you Googled? What does your YouTube algorithm look like? What does your Instagram algorithm look like? What are you seeing? What are they showing to you based on your previous activity? Mama Lay said too trusting. I agree. Too trusting. Like, why do we just trust people? Like, and what's so funny is, you know what's so funny about being too trusting? It's the people that complain about racism and white supremacy the most and complain about the man and the government not being on our side and all these things. But those are the people that trust those same people the most. It's like, yo, the same government that you're calling racist and saying all this stuff, that's who you just blindly trust to just give up your kids to and say, okay, yeah, teach my kids how to be successful in life. Oh, give me the medicine. Yeah, we got to go to the doctors. We got to get the medicine that Big Pharma gave to us. Oh, yeah. They said they came out with a jab. You know, it only took a couple months. Yeah. Dr. Fauci, who's telling us to get he's also receiving royalties from every time that we're purchasing it and every time that they're getting paid off. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. We're too trusting. It makes no sense. Uncle Brother wrote, bro, that's facts. I don't trust what the doctors say anymore. I've seen my family suffer with poor health for years following what their doc tells them to do. I'm telling y'all, this is how I put food on the table, working with doctors. So when I say these type of things, it's probably, you could say it's not in my best interest, but I don't care. What did that last video said? That last video that I played, when a young man has a purpose, then they'll climb over glass. Well, consider this me climbing over glass because I don't care. I'm calling them out. They don't know. And if they're honorable people, then they'll do the due diligence that they need to on their end. And maybe they'll start looking into, instead of just prescribing medicine, that they'll look into taking their trust that their patients have for them and valuing that a little bit more and taking that value to say, you know what, let me do something a little bit different. Let me treat this patient a little bit healthier. Let me look into this. Let me educate myself on these things so therefore I can have a better outlook when prescribing real medicine, recommending real medicine to my patients, rather than just prescribing them things that Big Pharma done just looked at plants and they said, okay, these plants heal these particular things, but we can't sell the plants. We won't make as much money selling the plants. So let's create this pill and we'll just use all the attributes of the plants. We'll put it in this pill with some other BS, and then we'll be able to get them hooked because it won't actually heal them like the plant would heal them. But instead, it'll just be something that forces them to continuously take the pill. So it's not going to heal it. It's just going to temporarily make it better. Right? Come on, man. All right, so mainstream medicine is more about drugs than health. 100%. I agree. All right, so let's move on to Dr. Casey and see what she's talking about.
You would think that the American healthcare system and our government agencies would be clamoring to fix metabolic health and reduce American suffering and costs, but they're not. They are deafeningly silent. about metabolic dysfunction and its known causes. It's not an overstatement to say that I learned virtually nothing at Stanford Medical School about the tens of thousands of scientific papers that elucidate these root causes of why American health is plummeting and how environmental factors are causing it.
She said she went to Stanford Medical School and learned nothing as far as what's truly impacting the downfall of healthcare in America, the things that contribute to it. Think about that. Stanford, amazing school, right? As far as what the reputation is, she's acknowledging that she learned absolutely nothing. But do we think a lot of these, see, the problem is we look at so many, it's the idolatry thing. We may not think that we idolize doctors the way that we idolize celebrities, but we do. And we actually do it in ways where we don't even feel comfortable questioning certain things that they say, certain recommendations that they make. Look at what Uncle Brother just wrote. My doctor fired me for calling her out, so being so quick to prescribe meds instead of looking at the root of the cause. Think about that. Why? Because they have such big egos. These doctors that I work with, surgeons, a lot of them got such big egos that they don't even care. They don't even care. They'll just, they're so, and you got to look at the makeup of a lot of these people. And I always tell y'all, you got to look at people's high school experience and it says a lot about them. You look at people's high school experience and it says a lot about them. A lot of these doctors, they were locked away in college, didn't have a college experience, never were the ones, I'm talking about the fellas, never were the ones going out here that actually got the ladies. I'm just being totally honest. If I'm not saying all of the doctors that I work with, some of the doctors, the ones that I work with closely, I've just by natural energy and frequency, I've had these conversations with them. I am totally honest with the doctors that I work with, maybe even about things that I shouldn't be. I just was on a 5-hour call. Hold on, let me show y'all something. They say you shouldn't discuss politics, right? With people that you work with, that you shouldn't discuss politics. So I rely on the doctors in a lot of ways, right? I rely on the doctors in a lot of ways. Damn, do I have this? Hold on, let me show y'all something. Let me show y'all something. Let me show y'all this. So I want to, hold on, let me erase the name. Let me erase the name because I don't want to, I don't know how they're going to feel about it. So let me erase the name. Hold on, I want to make sure y'all can still see the, hold on. Y'all got to see this. Hold up. All right, we good. All right. If y'all know that y'all may. All right, so take a look at this. Tell me if y'all can see this. Hold on. Save to photos. My bad. Hold on. Y'all know I do stuff on the fly. All right, so take a look at this. How long does that say that I was on the phone with this doctor yesterday? Can y'all see it? 4 hours and what? 4 hours and 15. Matter of fact, hold on. No, that wasn't even before the end of the call. That was while I was still on it. I may not have a picture that. Come on, bro. You ain't got the screenshot from. Oh, yes, I do. Oh, wait. Hold on. Y'all will be all right. Stop acting like y'all got to go somewhere. Hold on. I can't be having y'all calling this doctor out. And we didn't talk about anything bad, but look at that. 4 hours and 54 minutes. Hold on. Four hours and 54 minutes. Can y'all see it? Boom. We talked about politics, went back and forth. I let it be known exactly what I stand on. It was a respectful convo, but it was back and forth because I'm going to speak my truth. I'm not just not going to say certain things or not validate my opinion and my research on certain things because this person's a doctor. Knock it off. I say what's on my mind. It is what it is. And a lot more of us need to feel comfortable doing it because a lot of these people that we look at as experts in various areas, If we change our mindset in one area to stop worshiping these people that are supposed to be the experts, and if we put more responsibility on ourselves, if we just do that in one area, it will shift our perspective, the way we see life overall. That's my opinion. Because now I don't look at, if I hear something on the news, I don't just believe it. If I hear a doctor tell me something, I don't just believe it. If I hear a teacher say something or a professor say something on Instagram, I don't just believe it. I just don't believe things just to believe them because people that I like or people that I respect or people that I quote unquote idolize, people that make a lot of money, just because I don't just believe that. If anything, I'm wondering, who pays them? Because the more money that they make, I'm wondering, like, where's this money coming from? Because that way we can figure out who are the influences here. But let's keep going with Dr. Casey.
For instance, in medical school, I did not learn that for each additional serving of ultra-processed food we eat, early mortality increases by 18%. This now makes up 67% of the foods our kids are eating. I took 0 nutrition courses in medical school. I didn't learn that 82% of independently funded studies show harm from processed food, while 67% of the foods our kids are eating. I took 0 to now make processed food we eat. Early mortality increases by 18%.
Did y'all just hear that? Based on the food that we're eating, a lot of this processed foods, early mortality has increased 18%. 18%. Think about it like this. How would life be if inflation increased 18%? Right? Pretty terrible. But how do we not look at this as terrible? Early mortality rate increasing 18%.
Ultra-processed food we eat, early mortality increases by 18%. This now makes up 67% of the foods our kids are eating. 60 to 70% of the foods that we're eating are processed foods. When did somebody, if you can, in the chat, look up real quickly, like, when did processed foods really when did this happen? Because it was something that the food companies created. Well, we actually just talked about this on a few weeks ago, where we were talking about it's actually the cigarette companies. A lot of the cigarette companies, those were the people that got into the food industry and said, hey, we already got something addictive when it comes to cigarettes. How can we figure out how to create something in the food industry? And they created processed foods. So when did this start to occur? Like, when did this kick off? Because before this, we were not eating the processed foods. And it's so funny. You think back to our grandparents' diets. A lot of times, I don't know if y'all realize, but it's like, and I was looking at this in my family, and I'm like, how are my cousins on in my generation, how are we suffering from the same or worse health issues that our parents are suffered from, or our grandparents? It's like, here I am. My grandfather grew up, had a hard life on my dad's side, and ate pork every day. Ate pork every day and lived to 90 something. Had a harsh life, sharecropping, then working up. Harsh life. Ate pork. Matter of fact, I think both grandparents ate pork every day. Both grandparents ate pork every day. Now, we know that pork is not the healthiest food for us to be eating, but we don't look at processed foods the same. Processed foods are the exact same thing. What should we be focusing on? More meat. Well, it could be meat, but because meat is not necessarily processed, but meat, maybe if you're a meat eater, fish, if you eat fish, but more vegetables and fruits. That should be the majority of our diet. It just should be. And we will be functioning at a higher level. We'll be thinking at a higher level. We'll have less depression. We'll have less of all these things that we complain about, that we run to the doctor to get pills for. All we have to do is change the things that we're putting in our body. Think about it like this. And I'm not sure that people truly understand this. Shout out to Shy with the bacon. I'm a fool for, Shy, side note, I went out to eat with my big bro, Jim Dory, and his son maybe 2 nights ago. And we were at this steakhouse in Hoboken. And they had this
like a couple people that were at dinner with us ordered bacon, and the bacon that came out, yo, it was a slab of bacon like this thick, and like this. I'm like, oh my god, like, yo, total side note, I'm a sucker for bacon, but then I lost my train of thought. With the bacon. But yeah, so we just gonna keep going because I lost my train of thought.
I took 0 nutrition courses in medical school. I didn't learn that 82% of independently funded studies show harm from processed food, while 93% of industry-sponsored studies reflect no harm. In medical school, I didn't learn that industry studies show harm from processed. I didn't learn that 82% of independently funded studies show harm from processed food.
So 82% of independent studies show harm of processed foods,
while 93% of industry-sponsored studies reflect no harm.
While 93% of industry-sponsored studies show no harm. Did y'all just hear what she just said? Did y'all just hear what she just said? She said 82% of independent studies show harm in processed foods. But the 92% or 90 whatever percent that she said that are done by the industry show no harm. Let's hear that again.
2% of independent, 7% of the foods our kids are eating. I took 0 nutrition courses in medical school. I didn't learn that 82% of independently funded studies show harm from processed food, while 93% of industry-sponsored studies reflect no harm.
They're lying. They're lying to us.
In medical school, I didn't learn that 95% of the people who created the recent USDA food guidelines for America had significant conflicts of interest with the food industry. I did not learn that 1 billion pounds of synthetic pesticides are being sprayed on our food every single year. 99% of the farmland in the United States is sprayed with synthetic pesticides, many from China and Germany.
Are y'all listening to this? 99% of the farms in America are sprayed with these pesticides.
And these invisible, tasteless chemicals are strongly linked to autism, ADHD, sex hormone disruption, thyroid disease, sperm dysfunction, Alzheimer's, dementia, birth defects, cancer, obesity, liver dysfunction, female infertility, and more, all by hurting our metabolic health. I did not learn that the 8 billion tons of plastic that have been produced just in the last 100 years. Plastic was only invented about 100 years ago.
Did y'all know that plastic was only invented 100 years ago? That's kind of crazy.
Are being broken down into microplastics that are now filling our food, our water, and we are now even inhaling them in our air. And that very recent research from just the past couple of months tells us that now about 0.5% of our brains by weight are now plastic. I didn't learn that there are more than 80,000 toxins that have entered our food, water, air, and homes by industry, many of which are banned in Europe. And they are known to alter our gene expression, alter our microbiome composition and the lining of our gut, and disrupt our hormones. I didn't learn that heavy metals like aluminum and lead are present in our food, our baby formula, personal care products, our soil, and many of the mandated medications like vaccines, and that these metals are neurotoxic and inflammatory. I didn't learn that the average American walks a paltry 3,500 steps per day.
Listen to this.
We know, based on science and top journals, that simply walking 7,000 steps a day slashes by 40 to 60% our risk of Alzheimer's, dementia, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and obesity.
Yo, did y'all just hear what she said? I just got to run it back. Just by walking, just by doubling with the average amount of steps that you're doing, because I think she said that average is 3,500. Let's hear it.
The paltry 3,500 steps per day, even though we know, based on science and top journals, that simply walking 7,000 steps a day slashes by 40 to 60% our risk of Alzheimer's, dementia, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and obesity. I certainly did not learn that medical error and medications are the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States. I didn't learn that just 5 nights of sleep deprivation can induce full-blown prediabetes. I learned nothing about sleep. And we're getting about 20% less sleep on average than we were 100 years ago. I didn't learn that American children are getting less time outdoors now than a maximum security prisoner. And on average,
I'm just gonna run it back.
than we were 100 years ago. I didn't learn that American children are getting less time outdoors now than a maximum security prisoner.
Like, at this point, like in this information age that we live in, like there's no complaints. Like there's no complaints without actions, because we all have the ability to look up the information and to make certain changes, and if we want to, call it out. But there's no excuse, really.
And on average,
And you know why there's no excuse? Because you have people like her. This is why it's important that you have somebody like her who's calling out the people in the industry that she's actually in. She's not just taking the bag of money that a lot of these other doctors take. She's not doing that. She's actually calling it out. So she's making a decision that she knows probably going to compromise herself financially, or a decision that has already compromised herself financially, because if you're just one of these doctors that are just cutting and prescribing, you're going to make a lot of money. But she's saying, no, this is important. There's a certain level of honor and responsibility that she feels that she has to give to the American public. So how can we not take the stand? If she's standing up for this stuff, she could have just kept all this information to herself and to her family, and they could have just had better lives. But instead, she's going out there in a public space and telling all of us, while she's calling out the BS that Big Pharma and the Food and Drug Administration are doing, and killing us early. She's calling it out. And we already know what comes from calling out a lot of these big time pharma companies. That's the Black Rocks. We know what can come from calling these companies out. And she's still doing it.
adults spend 93%
So what are you doing? What are we doing?
of their time indoors, even though we know from the science that separation from sunlight destroys our circadian biology, and circadian biology dictates our cellular biology. I didn't learn that professional organizations that we get our practice guideline from, like the American Diabetes Association and American Academy of Pediatrics, have taken tens of millions of dollars from Coke, Cadbury, processed food companies, and vaccine manufacturers like Moderna. I didn't learn that if we address these root causes that all lead to metabolic dysfunction and help patients change their food and lifestyle patterns with united, strong voice, we could reverse the chronic disease crisis in America, save millions of lives and trillions of dollars in healthcare costs per year.
Trillions of dollars of us paying. Like, I just want to be clear when you talk about cost. It's saving trillions of dollars. I don't want people to be thinking like, oh, if the country can save trillions of dollars, why wouldn't they? No, I'm talking about the money that we save from not being sick and not having to spend money on all of these things that we have to spend money on, and not putting ourselves at risk, because she said the third leading cause of death is from medical procedures going wrong, or I forget the other thing that she mentioned. And shout out to my dad. So my dad sent me, I asked him about the processed foods. I asked, oh, y'all ain't send it to me. I don't know if y'all put it in the chat, but my dad sent it to me because that's what men do. You feel me? Men cut. Nah, let me stop. Processed foods have been around for centuries, but mass scale production and processing in the United States began in the late 18th and 19th centuries. So the late 18th and the 19th century. So about 100 years ago. And I think she said that something was occurring about 100 years ago. So maybe this was a push that happened. Maybe, I mean, we should look at the numbers. We should do a study about looking at the numbers and the health of how things were maybe 100 years ago compared to now. But in my opinion, obviously we know that it's only gotten worse, because what happens with the processed foods? You can leave it on the shelf forever. And I only learned this though. So my big bro, Jim Dory, that I always talk about, he works in the supermarket industry, and you don't realize how hard it is, or the shelf life of when you have produce, fresh produce. When you have even from all the fresh things that are not, even from a frozen standpoint, how hard it is to keep those foods and to deliver them, make sure you got the right storage units, the right truck units, all these different things. It is a lot easier for them to just drop off a box or something that can sit on a shelf that doesn't need to be held in an area with a certain temperature. And it's easier for them to sell. The problem is it kills us.
Instead, doctors are learning that the body is 100 separate parts, and we learn how to drug, we learn how to cut, and we learn.
She just said something very interesting there. Instead, the doctors are learning that the body is 100 separate parts. See, in my opinion, we not only do that from a body standpoint, and that's why you hear people talking about holistic. When you talk about a holistic doctor, holistic healthcare, you can't, it's like you can't talk about somebody's health and what they may be going through, whether it's mentally or physically, but then not also talk about their diet, how many hours of sleep they're getting. Like, it's all connected. And we do that a lot. We've been convinced to compartmentalize or to kind of separate these things and to not see them as one big holistic system. And we do this when it comes to other areas in our lives where we don't understand how can I put it? I don't know if I want to go that route. But everything is impacted. Everything impacts us. And that's what she means by holistic, whole. Instead of just looking at my foot and, oh yeah, I have diabetes that led to an issue with my foot. Why don't we address the root of the issues? We're not doing that. Why? Because then if I don't have diabetes, and then the big pharma can't sell me diabetes medicine. The doctors can't make any money when they got to chop off my foot. They can't do, you get what I'm saying?
Learn how to bill. I'll close by saying that what we are dealing with here is so much more than a physical health crisis. This is a spiritual crisis.
Ooh! I didn't hear this part, and that's crazy. That's what I was really getting into when I was saying all this stuff is connected, but I didn't know if I want to talk. Dr. Casey, you have the floor. That RFK Jr. over there?
We are choosing death over light. We are choosing death over life. We are choosing darkness
over light.
For people and the planet, which are inextricably linked. We are choosing to erroneously believe that we are separate from nature and that we can continue to poison nature and then outsmart it.
We are thinking we are separate from nature. We are nature. We are nature. You ever think how crazy it is when we watch nature shows? I told y'all, I grew up watching nature shows with my dad, my brother and I. Why is the animals in the wilderness, the trees and all this, why is that nature, but we're not nature? When we say we come from the same being, right? Right? God created all this, right? So when did God say, yo, y'all are separate? Nah, when Noah filled up that ark, he filled it up with all the animals, right? Isn't that the story y'all tell me? I don't know.
Path out will be a renewed respect for the miracle of life and a renewed respect for nature. We can restore health to Americans rapidly with smart policy and courageous leadership.
Courageous leadership. And that's not just from the people we idolize and the celebrities. That's from us as individuals leading in our lives.
We need a return to courage. We need a return to common sense and intuition. We need a return to awe for the sheer miraculousness of our lives. We need all hands on deck. Thank you.
Shout out to Dr. Casey, man. Shout out to Dr. Casey for putting that together. All right, so we're going to look at a few other videos that we have on here. Hold on. If y'all are seeing the screen, then y'all can laugh at that. But I thought this was funny. Hold on. All right, so matter of fact, we'll play this. It's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.